Hey, welcome back to SharePoint TV. My name is Jeff Fritz, and I've got our next guest here. It's Todd Klindt. Todd, great to see you.
Jeff, good to see you too.
Thanks so much for joining us. And for the folks who don't know who you are, why don't you give a quick intro?
Well, that's probably just about everybody.
Okay.
And I before I introduce myself, I want to ask the Twitch family out there, this is my very first time twitching.
Okay.
I'm a Twitch virgin. I've never Twitched before, so go easy on me. This is new technology. I get nervous.
Sure. So chat room, we want to hear from you.
Only positive things, only love.
All good things, all right?
The internet's usually pretty good about that.
Absolutely.
So I'm Todd Klindt.
Okay.
I'm a SharePoint nerd. I've been a SharePoint nerd for a long time, 15 years or so. I've played with every version of SharePoint that's been on-prem.
Okay.
So way back in the day when SharePoint was on stone tablets and we chiseled, that's how long I've
Chiseled
been
out those lists,
yes, and
sites,
It
yes.
was really tough to delete things back then, but we
Rename was really
off
hard.
no, couldn't do it. So I've been doing that, and then I recently made the move to the cloud. I was reluctant. The cloud drugged me in. I was clawing, fighting my way in, and then I got inside. I'm like, it's kind of nice in here.
It's welcoming.
Yes, it's nice. Oh, it's like a comfortable set of shoes.
You know, Mind James is telling us chat will always do the opposite of what you ask. Welcome to Twitch.
Chat, whatever you do not send me money to PayPal. I hate it when people put money in my PayPal account when I don't ask for it.
Don't do that. Don't do
ever.
that at all.
So back to me, one
Yes.
of my favorite topics. So I've been doing the SharePoint thing for a while and moved into the online version. I'm a SharePoint consultant. I've written a few books on SharePoint. I've got a podcast, but now, I've been twitching now for 3 minutes, and I love it already.
Is there a link to that podcast we can share with the friends on?
So I have a link to all of my things. I have a blog. You can go to www.toddklindt.com, and that is everything. It's my blog. I've got links to my YouTube channel there.
Okay.
My Amazon wish list.
yeah,
directions
gotta
to
have
my
that.
house. The best bushes to hide behind if you want to stalk me. I've got it all. I've got it all laid out.
Okay, that's
Any
good.
attention is good attention. That's what
Absolutely.
I like to think. So
There you go. There's a link there in chat.
Perfect, yeah. And so, where was I? I do consulting and writing and all that. And the thing that I'm going to talk about today is one of the many things. Office 365, SharePoint Online is huge. I just can't get my arms around all of it. But this is one of those things that came out that I wanted to play with and didn't have time. And then a customer said, we need to figure this out.
Okay.
And it's been great ever since, and I've loved it.
Fantastic. So we've heard a lot about site designs and the new home site features. Where do we start? What are the cool things that are happening there that you're enjoying?
So the thing that I like about site designs is I'm an admin by trade.
Okay.
And I mock my developer friends. I do it mostly with love, but there's a touch of
mock
snark,
them?
just a little salt of snark on
Okay.
top. And through the journey that has been SharePoint, trying to customize SharePoint and customize it consistently and customize it in a way that doesn't kill my beloved SharePoint servers has always been a challenge, and it's changed with every different version of SharePoint. But it's always a request that people have. They want custom lists and libraries and all of that. And so the developers would write code that would do it, and I couldn't do that. Site designs and site scripts have become to me a great way to customize SharePoint, do it in a protected way that's not going to cause a lot of problems, but it also, what's the big word we're using? It democratizes?
Yeah.
Democratize all the things. We have now democratized customizing SharePoint so that end users can do it.
Isn't that tremendous?
The admins can do it, and we don't have to bother those developers.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do, but we don't have to. And as an administrator, one of the things that made me really fall in love with SharePoint was the fact that I could empower the user. Now, some folks would say that means I'm lazy. I like to think of it as efficient.
Yes, absolutely.
I like to empower. But that's one of the things that I've always loved about SharePoint, that once I gave somebody a site collection, they could add who they wanted, create document libraries, make it look beautiful, and this is just another way to do that, but in a good way that's consistent with all of our corporate policies. They can add site designs, but then they're going to get the right corporate logo, they're going to get the right lists and libraries that are consistent, and so I really like how it does that, and again, without a lot of developer intervention.
Absolutely, right? We know as soon as you bring in a developer, you're cranking up the cost of the project. You're going to crank up the delay. If we can make it easier for folks, the non-tech folks, right? The technical muggles, get them in and get them productive quickly.
Yeah,
tremendous, right?
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about what some of those site designs are? How we can
Yeah,
take advantage of that?
Well, so I can show you a couple. I've got a couple that I've set up, and it's great how these are exposed. So let me drag a window over there. So I'm logged into Office 365 here as a regular old user. I believe that's my regular old user account. Let me check up here. For folks that play with, there's my thing. So folks that play with Office 365, if you don't already know about Chrome profiles, we're not going to get into that here. That's a twitch for another time. But it's the ability to have multiple browsers open as different people and all that. So now I am assuming one of my identities, my assumed identity is Lydia. So if you ever hear me speaking about Lydia, that's me.
Okay.
And she is a SharePoint user, and she wants to create a new site collection. So she goes to office.com, where every good information worker starts their day. And she says, all right, I'm going to go into SharePoint. Let me make that window a little bigger for our friends on Twitch. And she says, I want to create a site. So she's just a regular worker bee out there creating a site. And she says, this is a place where me and my coworkers are going to collaborate.
Okay.
I'm going to create a team site. And she says, a fun new team site. Boy, that screen's a long ways away. But over here on the left, we have this Choose It design.
And you know, can we make that a little bit bigger and zoom in a little bit so that there are some folks that are going to be watching on their phone. We want to make sure they can see.
We wouldn't be considerate of our friends on the phone. So let's make that a little bigger, and let's use browser zooming. It is not zooming the way I expected it to. Still not moving the way I expected it to. Oh, geez. Oh, goodness. Now I've done it.
We've angered the browser.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Good enough? All right. So she's just a regular user. She's coming in here. She's creating a team site so her and her coworkers can get together. Again, no IT's been involved.
Sure.
Now we have on the left here, when she creates this team site, we've got this Choose a Site design. Now, there's a default site design for Teams.
Okay.
Team site does team site things. We've got one in here for Contoso, the customer tracking one. And I've also created one here called Site Design Fun.
Site design fun.
Yes.
Now that doesn't come stock.
That is not an out-of-the-box one.
Okay.
I've talked to my friends at Microsoft about this. I knew one of the project managers for site designs, and I tried to lobby him to create one called Site Design Fun, and it got taken out at the last minute.
And they wouldn't make hot dogs stand while they were there?
No, they would not. They would not do that. And so we've got a short description here of what happens when you apply the site design. Well, it sets fun stuff with a site design. So we're going to come in here, this description of the site, well, tall, dark, and handsome. And that's not how you spell dark, I don't think. And so she's going to go in through, and again, it's a regular, it's setting up a group, it's a regular team creating experience, and then she's going to click next. And it's going to go through, we'll send them an additional owner, that's always a good idea. I'm a big fan of Adele, so we're going to add Adele.
All right.
And we're going to finish. So similar experience that she's used to. The team site pops right up. So there's no waiting. There's no
immediately
there's no
set up.
Mouse trap in the back and marbles rolling and springs and rubber bands.
And the guy flips into the bathtub.
Yes. Oh, that is my favorite part.
And he misses half the time.
You'd think he'd be better at it by now.
All this practice.
Yeah. So you can see up here, we got this yellow thing up here. It's saying, hey, there's a site design applied. Refresh the site to see the changes. Now, we didn't do much with this site design. But if we go into our all content, oh, that's not all content, that's a question mark. Site contents, we should see a list of Todd's favorite things.
Okay.
Now, as we all know, that is not an out-of-the-box list, though again, it should be a list of, and then this other one up here, secret documents. So these are things that were in that site design that I created. Now, of course, we're all going to do this. We're going to all have a list of Todd's favorite things and all that.
Of course.
The idea behind this from a practical standpoint is once you're starting to have search and fields, custom site fields and all that, you want those to be created consistently.
Sure.
And you can put guidelines out about that, but people are going to spell things wrong and they're going to use the wrong words. But if you've got the site design out here, you can let them do it. And you can have a site design for accounting sites, and a site design for IT sites, and all the different things.
You want them to fall into the pit of success.
Yes, yeah. One thing I talk about is whenever in life, I've got kids and coworkers and all that, I try to make it as easy as possible for people to do the things that I want them to do. And so this is a great way to do that.
So we've got the list here. We've got secret things, and that was all just because you chose that initial
site design. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I were to go in as Lydia and create another team site and not pick that site design, they wouldn't show up.
Okay.
A couple of really great things about this is this does not only happen at the time you create the site. So Lydia knew that there was this out there, but let's imagine Lydia's new to the company, bright-eyed, still, not beaten down by the man yet, and she created some team sites and didn't know about this, and somebody's like, oh, you didn't do the thing with Todd's site design? You can go back later
and apply it.
You can apply a site design again. So I can come in here and I've got a link inside of the cog, site designs, and we can see not only that, we can see when we applied it, and it'll actually tell her what it did, but then there's the link down here for available site designs, and it will show her the site designs that are available for this site.
Gotcha. All right.
And we can do some more. Now, you're seeing in that list, you're seeing site design fun. Well, why does that show up? She's already applied that. Why would she apply it again? That makes no sense.
Well, does it give you that if there's updates? So you can say
exactly. Exactly. So let's just say somebody comes in there like Todd's favorite things. That's a horrible name for a list. How about Todd's very favorite things? We should name it that instead.
Okay.
So on the back end, an admin can change this site design, and then you can go reapply it.
So, and that kind of plays into, Governor here has a question in chat. Everyone should know you make site designs in the SharePoint Designer?
Well, the good news for a Governor is that SharePoint Designer is free now. I don't know if that's come out yet, but I don't know if the NDA on that and the embargo, I forget. But Site Designer is free. SharePoint Designer is free. No, we make these site designs in PowerShell, which if SharePoint is my first love, if SharePoint is the girl that brought me to the dance, PowerShell is my second love and probably the girl I'm making out with under the bleachers. So I really like PowerShell.
There you go. We're blowing the lid off that.
Is this a family-friendly Twitch?
It's absolutely family-friendly.
All right. So one of the things that I tell people, I taught some classes earlier this week, is for us admins, you have to be at least proficient at PowerShell, because all of the new fun functionality is going to show up in PowerShell first, and then eventually show up in the UI. And this is one of those things that you can do pieces of this in the UI, we've already done it, but you have to really understand PowerShell to get into it.
And that says something about the ability then to start scripting the creation of brand new sites that you need to deploy, you want to be able to replicate, do it in PowerShell. Now you've got a script that you can easily copy and rerun.
Yeah, and that's another thing so I applied this site design in the UI. You can also do it with PowerShell. And you can update it in PowerShell. So I can say, start showing off my PowerShell skills.
Very favorite things in there.
Yes, I can say, get me all of the team sites, because these site designs can be scoped by the template. So com sites, team sites. I can say, get me all the team sites. And for each of those team sites, invoke this site design that applies Todd's very favorite things. And I can do that as an admin from PowerShell also.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Very cool.
Yeah, so the good thing about this is we can continue to update the site design fun as the business progresses and we understand what we can do, and then users can go out and update it. And they've got some pretty good logic around not deleting things. If you've got a really long list of Todd's favorite things, it's not going to delete that and create a new one on top of it. It's going to look at the changes and say, okay, we're going to add this column, we're going to update this description, we're going to do whatever. I've had really good luck. I will say, when we get to here in a couple of minutes, when we start talking about site scripts, there are some tricks to writing your site scripts correctly so that you don't overwrite things.
Yeah, so for those folks that are getting started, how do they get started with those site
Now
scripts?
that I've gotten them all excited,
I know, you
whipped
led
them
right
into a
it.
lather about site designs. So what is the magic behind site designs? That's the question on the tip of everybody's tongue.
You can hear the magic.
I gotta get me one of those.
Yeah.
So in the background, the worker bees that are doing all the heavy lifting on the site design is like the show pony of all this. The workhorses are the site scripts. So site scripts are chunks of JSON that have verbs and all of that that define actions. And then you bolt those scripts together into a site design. And you apply the site design. We got a question in the chat room.
There you go. Looks like Jesse. Is that the name?
Saying, Todd, how did you become so incredibly good-looking? Genetics, really. I can't. But then the other question that he had was, you can apply site designs for sites connected to Office 365 groups. Can you default a site design for all sites being created with groups? You can set a default site design.
Good.
That's a good question, Jesse. So when I go in there, you can see for the available site designs, we had a default one. I can go in when I set a site design. I can set what its description is, which site scripts it uses, what its the templates, and then I can say is default.
Yeah.
And then it will default in.
That way, if you have that corporate standard, you want to make sure everybody has Okay.
Yeah. So
Very
one of the
cool.
ways that I've done that is the customer that first came to me about this, they had a long list of unreasonable demands they wanted me to do with site designs. Site Design stepped up and did them all. One of them
Terrific.
was they wanted to make sure that the IT group could get into every site collection. And that was obviously something that users weren't going to do when they created their own site collections, but that was one of the things that I can do. You can modify permissions. So it just in the background, set it to the default one, the IT group could get in to do whatever they did.
Okay, and that's a lot better than writing some sort of a script that just checks every couple
Yeah.
hours and says,
Yeah.
make sure we have access granted to these folks.
Well, and so there is some of that still, because if somebody notices that, they could come in and remove it. If I set it with a site design. But the idea was, you have a script that checks if IT's in there, and then you have another script to check this, and another script to check this, or you can bundle them all in a site design and hit it all at once, and make sure
Nice.
that everyone has the right lists, the right libraries, the right permissions. You can do things like disable, and this is kind of getting into the site scripts. You've got this list of verbs that you can run, change permissions. You can do things like shut off external sharing for a site.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, so that would be one like you would set that as default and then make people go in and change it if they had to, or would be one that is a package that you would run that was, make sure IT's in there, make sure the nav's right, make sure external sharing's disabled. It's really powerful stuff. I really got excited when I started playing with it.
Oh, I bet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you've got to have some tips, right? You've got to have a hit list. These are the things that, if you're a good SharePoint administrator, here's how you should be using site designs.
Yeah. So, like everything that I do, I'm not very smart. So I have to learn things the hard way.
Come on now, you're selling yourself short here a little bit.
I've asked a lot of people. A lot of people agree with me on that.
Okay.
So what I do is I've gone out and I've got a demo tenant, and there's a lot of great ways to do that. You can get a developer tenant. You can, if you're a Microsoft partner, you can get demo tenants, whatever. And I just started playing with it. I started, and the advice I give for learning anything, PowerShell, how to cook macaroni, whatever, find something you already know how to do, and then figure out how to do it in the new way, so that you're not fighting the process and the language and all that.
Okay.
So like for the permissions, I already know how to apply permissions, but now I'm going to try to figure out how to do it with a site script and a site design. I already know how to change a theme, and now I'm going to figure out how to do it with a site script and a site design. I know how to create a document library. So go out and for me, what it was after this customer said we're going to do site designs, there's a Microsoft documentation on site scripts and site designs is amazing. They did a tremendous job with it. And so we'll put some links. I've got a blog post upcoming that'll have some of that so people can go out there. But go out to docs.microsoft.com, search for that. But there's a list of all of the verbs that site scripts currently support. And man, I just go through, and I'm more curious than I am smart. So I would just go through and that's a great verb. And I would go put it in a site script and then just run it and see what happens. And then try another one and run it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then see all the parameters. And that I just learned so much, because everything did work exactly the way I thought, but it worked out.
There's something to be said about that visual learning and
for me,
the
that's-
hands-on, being able to tinker and light things up and then disable. And what exactly does happen here?
Exactly, yeah. The other thing that I would do is for PowerShell, there's a bunch of commandlets, and this is all with the SPO, the regular SharePoint Online module. The PNP module has some of it too, that's great. But the SPO module is where I started. So I just did a get command, site script, site design, and just saw all the commandlets. I'm like, well, I wonder what this one does.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got this breadth of knowledge on site scripts and site design.
Just had a checklist of here's the
rolling
new
up
command
my
list.
sleeves and just making things break.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation to people. Have some tasks that you want to do, and just look in there and see if there's a way to do them, and just start stitching them together. And it's great.
And breaking things.
Breaking things, yeah. I did do a bunch of that. And again, that's an important, use a dev tenant, because this is a tenant level setting.
Okay.
So if I change default templates for something, it's the whole tenant.
Yeah, don't do that to your customers. Don't do that to
Don't
your
do
internal
production.
teams. Put it somewhere that doesn't impact folks.
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing that I would tell you for a piece of advice is site designs are based on one or more site scripts.
Okay.
And so kind of the idea that I've come up with a bunch of like atomic site scripts. Here's a site
that's a
script
good
that
idea.
only changes permissions. Here's a site script that only adds Todd's favorite documents. And that way, when I'm starting, I can just put these building blocks together and make a site design that changes permissions, changes nav, but doesn't add Todd's list.
Nice.
And then I can so that's another piece that I would, just these little elemental site scripts, because you can have a lot of site scripts. You can have as many as you want.
Sure. So if they're all PowerShell, just have them laying out on disk somewhere. Put them in your favorite GitHub repository. So that you can pull them back later. Oh my gosh, great idea.
Yeah, and that's another one that I've really enjoyed. And the other thing is there is a couple of places where there's limits on how many verbs you can have run inside of a site design and a site script, and so breaking them up gets you around that. There's other ways around it, but that's just one of the ways.
You're hacking it.
I'm just working inside of the confined, the confines.
The friendly confines of SharePoint.
Yeah. The one tricky thing I would say for me as an admin was all of this is JSON based. I have no clue what that is. I thought it was a rock band. Turns out it's not. So that was a little tricky for me, is figuring out how to manipulate JSON, how to format JSON. There was a lot of swearing involved.
I'm not going to hit that sad trombone.
He could, or bleep me out. The censors hate that. But just know that if you haven't used JSON before, get an editor like Visual Studio Code or Notepad++, something that can help you figure out your JSON.
Oh my gosh!
Because there's some common issues that dummies like me.
The syntax highlighting you get from Visual Studio Code, they show you here's the opening and closing braces.
Yep.
To highlight things appropriately, that these are labels, these are groups, really helps. And it'll even give you those red underlines when you make a mistake.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't close this properly.
Yep. The one that I always do is I always either don't have a comma where I need them, or I have the comma at the end of the last one.
Okay.
Because I end up cutting and pasting things, and if I paste one, but yes.
I run into the problem where, because I'm a C# developer, I'm not using the colons in JSON, I'm using equals.
Yeah.
So I have to make that mental conversion back and forth between the two.
Yep. So get a good editor that will help you if you're not familiar with JSON.
Certainly.
I spent a lot of time on that I probably shouldn't have, because I was just using Notepad. But for my admin compatriots out there, this is great functionality. Just another way to increase your job. Because we don't get to click next a lot. We don't get to install SharePoint much anymore. This is just another great way to make yourself valuable to your company and to do fun stuff.
Absolutely. Expand your breadth of knowledge. Get into other things that are going to make you more valuable.
Yep.
Get into other things where you can be a little bit more creative.
Yeah.
And be productive at the same time.
And have fun.
Oh my gosh. Gotta have fun.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other demos we want to take a look at?
So the other thing that I can show you is just kind of how we put the site script together. And goodness, that's a big PowerShell one. There we go.
We got the resize.
There we go. All right, so let me make this big enough. And I won't show you, but I was going through my demos, though the demos show no signs of rehearsal whatsoever. But I made a bunch. I've been doing a lot of site scripts, and I still made a bunch of mistakes today when I was setting up my demos. So let's make this a little bigger so the folks at home can watch. How do we feel about 24?
Oh yeah, 24 is usually pretty good.
Oh, that's the spot. Okay, so I've got, so this is a site script that was the one that we used for the, I shouldn't use aliases, that I used for, that site design. I also can't type and talk at the same time. All right, so we'll do that. So this is that JSON file, and this is what I did. So we've got the verbs, the verb create SP list. I think most folks can follow along with what that does.
Oh yeah.
The template, that is just a custom list.
Okay.
101 is a document library. Verb set description. So there's that whole colon instead of equal thing that trips us all up. So then what I do is I do add SPO. Well, we talked about the get command thing. So whenever I'm learning something new, I do get command. And I just try to figure out what the options are out there for me. So if I do get SPO command, all the ones that have site script in them, that's all the ones that I've got.
Okay.
And so I can see the SPO ones, the Microsoft modules, that's all these. The PNP PowerShell, everybody should have it, everybody should use it. But I recommend starting with the SPO PowerShell because that's what all the docs.microsoft.com are going to use. And it'll all work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if I can never remember what the verb is, I'm like, add SPO site script, get SPO site script, remove SPO site script. This is all coming together for me. So I can, if I want to see what's out there, I can do get SPO site script. And those are the ones that are out there. So in those, you'll see that matches kind of what I did before. Version 1. Some of this is kind of ugly. You end up having to copy GUIDs around a lot. So
no. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
So then the site script, we talked about that. We bolt those together. So what can I do with site designs? Well, let's go to our friend get command. Oops, site design. I had too many S's in there.
Yep. Pair programming with the internet. That's what
yes.
Yeah. Wow, look at them all. Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is what I talked about. Like I can invoke them. So if I update a site design, I can run some PowerShell to loop through all my team sites and set them. But I can see, I can set a site design, add site design. So then just start piecing these together. Then the next thing I always do is help, and then what was that? Add SPO site script. I'm like, yep, that's what I want to do. So then the next thing I always do is up arrow -E.
Yeah, we picked one that didn't have any examples.
But that's, gee.
I had to.
You did, yeah. So let's look at Git history and we can see the command that I used. So I added the site script right there, and this is what added it to the repository. So this created the new one up there. And then I did a get site script just to, appreciate my handiwork. I like technical difficulties. Do we have a sound for technical
difficulties? We could do sad too, but go ahead, fire off. There it is.
Oh.
Sorry about that. We're back live. Not sure what happened with the network there, real quick.
Conference internet. What are you gonna do? Oh my.
So we looked at you showed us a little bit about some of those PowerShell scriptlets that we could go through and execute, some of the commandlets for the site script, and you just walked through and showed us how you can see those examples.
Yep.
And I'm thrilled. This is something simple. I love being able to move fast and break things and learn.
You can break things pretty fast here, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so my idea for this, and just go in, look at the site scripts. There's one of the great documentation pages is just a list of all the verbs.
Okay.
Just read through there, and it just inspires you to, to find out the things you can do with these site scripts. It's just a lot of great. And the other thing is, and I want to make sure I mention this, there is a specific version of a specific list of verbs you can use. One of those verbs is run flow. So if there's something you can't do with the script, you can have your site design kick off a flow. And as we know, flow can do anything.
Yeah, so flow is that new system that allows us to automate all kinds of things.
Yeah, so now you could have it send a tweet, get you some coffee when the site, anything you want. There's a verb for run custom flow, and then now the world's just.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Well, I think that's the end of. Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to find an appropriate one. No, that's probably not.
So squealing tire.
Yeah. So that's another. Now, I haven't done a lot with that because I'm not really great with flow.
Okay.
But that's if you're good with flow. That's
another opportunity to learn.
Exactly. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Todd. This has been great.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.
And chat room, I hope you stick around. We'll be back in about 15-20 minutes with our next guest right here on SharePoint TV.